Hi, I'm Catalina Maria Johnson. On behalf of Beat Latino and Gozamos, I'm talking to Efrain Rozas from La Mecánica Popular, all the way from Brooklyn, New York. Hi, Efrain.
Hi, how are you doing?
It's good to talk to you and good to learn more about this sound, which is kind of taking the salsa world by the storm. I mean, what a surprise! Who'd have thunk salsa could get psychedelic? Like I would never have imagined that. So, how did this project come about? The musical project and the ensemble, and this idea to take salsa kind of into the psychedelic 21st century.
hmm Well, it was very natural for us, Personally, I grew up in Peru. So first of all, there we have the whole tradition of chicha and
Right.
Peruvian cumbia, but the beginnings of that music took a lot from son cubano, and they were doing it not, they were developing it not in the style of the New Yorkers who were introducing like the horn sections. They were experimenting with more like the Chicano style with guitars, and using a little bit of synths, but it was some stuff down that road, but they didn't develop it much. And it's kind of being rediscovered, because maybe it was overshadowed by the big salsa movement or stuff. And on the other hand, I as a musician love Afro-Caribbean rhythms, but also love experimental music, contemporary, not only the psychedelia from the 70s, but also contemporary psychedelia or experimental music using synthesizers, oscillators, and all this crazy stuff that is going on. Also in academic music, using academic electronic music. So I love those two worlds, and I said, man, and it's also a big question for me. Why isn't there more people in the academic world using these Afro-Caribbean rhythms? And why isn't there more people in the Afro-Caribbean rhythms genres using these beautiful textures of experimental and psychedelic music? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. That's the music I wanna listen to. I wish existed. So yeah,
So you're gonna make it yourself.
simple
That
as really, like just for the love of music.
wow.
Yeah.
And it's a large ensemble. 8 members, is that correct?
Yeah. Well, right now we are seven. We are seven. It
And
uh,
from Peru,
Peru,
Venezuela,
Venezuela, U.S. Uh,
Colombia. No.
no,
No. Okay. Peru, you wow. And were you all were you all studying music, or how did you kind of come together? And you sound
well,
great together.
well, to start with, this big number, it sounds kind of impractical in these times where the world seems to be taken over by DJs, which is cool. I have nothing against that. But it's one person, two people. To have a seven-person ensemble is kind
Right.
of weak nowadays. And it's because it's all played live. All the electronic textures, we are using these machines and we are playing them live. I also love, the rhythm section of Afro-Cuban music, which is conga, timbala, mongo, which is usually also replaced by a drum set. The drum set player can play everything, but I love having these three people interacting with each other. And it was a quest. It was kind of difficult, but at the same time, it was a lot of serendipity and funny stories. How I found these people who can play in clave, but also have a sensibility for experimental stuff. It's difficult to find that kind of musician. It's really rare. So it was. I mean, I could tell you. I think the program would be a little long because I have six stories, and but
Wow.
each of them very interesting situations, playing music through friends. Some of them study, some of them are just like musicians, that they
Wow.
do their thing. Some of them are do it yourself experimentalists. So yeah, very varied.
Now tell me, you're talking about like the difficulty in getting those two sensibilities together or interacting. Why is that? What is it a different kind of musician that normally kind of self-selects for each kind of thing, or why do those two worlds not come together more often, do you think?
Well, to be honest, I came here because I'm doing a PhD in music, and that's the question of my dissertation. It's a very complex question that includes philosophical stuff like the divide that Western music has done between mind and body. Like in Western thought, supposedly we can only reach transcendence or elevated states through the mind and not through the body, and hence the emphasis in music to harmony, not so much in rhythm or danceable rhythms. That's one
Interesting.
reason.
Hmm.
Yep, sorry.
Interesting. No, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I believe because the technologies that have been developed for music kind of have neglected rhythm. Maybe if there were more people interested in rhythm in an Afro-Caribbean sense or Indonesian sense or whatever, that could have access to the places where they develop these technologies for music, maybe there would be more technologies of music that could allow musicians, because it's really difficult for a musician who is interested in clave to play around with computers, for example. Because I just tweeted one thing about that in rhythm there is this tense equilibrium between accuracy and error. You are always in this, and computers can't commit errors. You have to program
Yeah.
them to commit errors. So,
Interesting.
so that's a beautiful thing about rhythm, about dancing, and there's this tense equilibrium. There's always, we are not this, when you hear a person drumming, it's really accurate, but it's also not, it's not a computer. When you hear a computer, it's like ta, ta, ta,
Right,
you can
right,
hear
right,
there's
right,
no error. So
right,
it's the beauty of rhythm.
right.
So it's because of that, and it's simply because it's difficult. But we are trying to develop that language in this band, trying to bring those words together. Yeah.
Wow. And you take this sort of more traditional, salsa dura framework and really turn it on its head. And yet at the same time, at least in the recording, I think you had Luis Bausa. So you seem to be the kind of old school salsa musicians do not, the maestros and the elders, if you will, don't seem to be that upset about it, maybe, or it is. I'm curious as to the reaction of the.
No, I haven't. Well, I was taking classes with him. He was teaching me some timbales
Uh-huh,
lessons,
uh-huh.
and I talked to him about the project, and he was happy to collaborate. He actually got me in touch with several musicians that have collaborated in the album. And um, for another story I have is that one time we were playing at this bar in Parksville in Barbés, and Jose Alberto El Canario came to us.
The
I
great
didn't recognize
Dominican,
you.
just for people who don't know, the great Dominican musician, right?
Yes, from Típica 73 and that
Uh-huh.
stuff. I didn't recognize him because I only know his pictures when he was very young. So I was like, yeah, that's great. And the conguero of the band, he's older than us. He's like, dude, that's Jose Alberto El Canario. I was like, what? The thing is that connect us with these people is that we played in clave. I think what in my experience, what makes kind of not these people not like so much contemporary music is this use of beats of the laptop, which I like. I don't disagree, but I agree with them in the sense that there should be more experimentations with technology, but keeping the clave, this thing, this rhythm thing that we cannot describe, but we feel it when we dance. That's the key thing. So that's why we are playing on live, and we're trying to, and we like that sound of Fania salsa dura of the 70s. It's like these percussions that really raw, not very processed in the mixing. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. And you're about to celebrate a new video release and a vinyl release, right? That's coming up.
Yes, we are gonna release the full album. We already have a single with Names You Can Trust. We are releasing the full album on November 18th. And actually, the video is coming a little later. It's gonna be in December, but we have already a video of La Paz del Freak, our first single. And yeah, we're very excited. I think people are already, the band is kind of new, but we're already kind of getting some buzz around here in
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York. I've been here only 3 years, 2 years with the band, so I'm very happy, very excited.
Well, we look forward to all the different upcoming events, the celebrations, the releases. We look forward to reading your dissertation someday because we'll get the answer to why contemporary music and the kind of like the clave have not been brought together quite yet. But La Mecánica Popular is doing it. So thanks so much for taking time to talk with us, Efrain. It's been a
Thank
treat.
you. Thank you for having me here, and yes, it's a pleasure.
And
Thank
we
you.
can't wait to see you in Chicago. Hope that happens soon.
Hopefully, yeah, of course. Thank you.